Welcome in, along with Mike Renner. I'm Steve Palazzolo, and this is your Minnesota Vikings NFL Draft Recap, all powered by PFF Edge and Elite. All right, Mike, the Vikings, we had a feeling they were going to go offensive line in the first round, but we weren't expecting center Garrett Bradbury from NC State, a player we had as more of an early second-round pick, but we definitely expected more of a guard or tackle type of focus for the Vikings at the top.
Yeah, with Cody Ford and Andre Dillard still on the board, I was a little surprised that they went to the center position. I'm not going to argue with Garrett Bradbury's ability in the running game. He's one of the best run blockers in this entire class, great in the zone scheme. We've talked on that ad nauseum. I just worry about him holding up to power in pass protection. And if you're drafting a guy that highly and you have questions about him in pass protection, to me that's a red flag. I wouldn't have touched him that highly just because I worry about, and especially in that NFC North, going up against guys like Kenny Clark, guys who are going to bull rush him back into the quarterback. He had issues with that at the Senior Bowl. You hope that gets cleaned up, but he has small arms, just a slight frame. I'm not sure he's ever going to be a plus pass protector, and drafting that at 18 is a big ask for me.
Yep. Pat Elflein struggled at center the last 2 years for the Vikings, but if you want to make excuses for him, it's going up against Kenny Clark and Akeem Hicks and big snacks now in Detroit, and they move a bunch of other defensive tackles around in that division, so it's going to be really tough on Bradbury, especially as a slighter type of player. But he does have those outstanding run blocks as far as making reaches in the zone game and everything. So that's what they're focused on. It seems like shoring up that run game in Minnesota. I like what they did with the pass game in round 2 with Irv Smith out of Alabama. When Kirk Cousins was at his best, having Jordan Reed as a nice shifty mismatch for linebackers in the pass game was great. Irv Smith kind of brings that to the table for the Vikings.
Yeah, in terms of receiving ability, to me he is better receiver than Noah Fant and what he brings to the table from a route running perspective, from a complete tight end perspective. The only thing with him is he's almost an H-back. I'm not sure you're ever going to really want him to line up as an inline tight end. He's just going to get thrown around as a run blocker in that sort of, I would imagine if you're going to ask him to do that 20, 30 times a game, he's just not going to hold up. So a receiving weapon, but he's more of a move guy, not necessarily inline.
He's really not much like Kyle Rudolph, and there's a lot of talk about them moving on from Rudolph, who has a much bigger frame, bigger catch radius.
There's room for both, though, I think.
What's that?
I think there's room for both, though.
Absolutely. I think a complementary part of those guys, but it's not a pure replacement for Rudolph at all because he doesn't have that catch radius. He's going to create mismatches in a different way in the pass game. Rounding out that day 2, though, running back Alexander Madison from Boise State, a guy that we liked quite a bit, but anytime you take a running back that high, always some question marks there.
Yeah, you got Dalvin Cook on the roster. It's just a lot to go in for a running back in the 3rd round when, take another guard, take another shot at the offensive line to try to hit one there, because that would be, in my opinion, more impactful to your football team is hitting someone on that offensive line. I know they went in the 4th round with Drew Samia, who we like his game. We think has a little nastiness to his game, fits in with that Vikings offensive line, but why not take another? Why not take another so that you're not sure, but you have a better chance of hitting on one of those guys, because we've seen their offensive line, well, it was one injury still. They're still thin up front if the worst were to happen.
I do like they at least addressed all of the offensive line positions. You mentioned Drew Samia at guard, Oli Udoh from Elon, a guy who looked okay at the Senior Bowl, and at least from a round 6 developmental tackle standpoint was fine there. They had 9 total picks on day 3. What else stood out to you for the Vikings there?
Well, I think I like the pick of Armon Watts, one of our favorite sleepers in this class, out of Arkansas. Uses his hands really well as a pass rusher, so to get him on day 6, I think he has a legit shot of taking some snaps there as a rookie. And then the 2 wide receivers. I think they did a good job of targeting route runners there towards the end of the draft. Dylan Mitchell, I worry about his size. He's a little slightly built and gets, when he goes against more physical cornerbacks, that really limited his game. And Olabisi Johnson, though, out of Colorado State, a very precise route runner. Both those guys towards the end have route running ability where a lot of times people are drafting pure athletes. 6th, 7th round, I'll draft the guys who know how to run routes. I think that'll translate better at the next level. Both those guys have a chance of
might actually be able to see the field. I'd also highlight Cameron Smith, the round 5 linebacker, was a little bit more athletic than I expected after watching him on film, and at least on early downs could add a little bit to the defense. So there you have it. It's your Minnesota Vikings NFL Draft Recap, all powered by PFF Edge and Elite.